Hey there, fellow fantasy football freaks. As you can see, this isn't your normal kind of video. We don't have the normal intro. I don't got a normal background. You can still see my fucking couch back there. You know, things have not been right this week. I'm gonna shoot straight with you. I'm a caregiver by trade. That's what I do for my day job. But this past week, my main man that I take care of, he needed a little more attention from me for a couple reasons. One, just because of health. And number two, one of his other caregivers' mother died. And because I'm his main man, I'm the one that got called in to pick up the pieces. Hey, you know, that's what I do. It's my job. But the problem with that is that it takes away from doing this that I love to do for all of you. So I promised the rankings video, and that didn't come out. Benches and bumps isn't on time. So what I had to do was kind of Frankenstein those two ideas together because I didn't have time to do both. So I've created this kind of Frankenstein mishmash piecemeal sort of thing. And it's not really like the normal video. Next week, things will be a lot better, a lot smoother. You know, we'll have the normal 3 videos. I've got a new backdrop I'm working on. So this show is a hybrid between benches and bumps and rankings. There's no deep dive, sorry. But I'll still get into that just by nature of rankings. So on top of that, in the over 20 years that I've been making videos, I have never had so many technical difficulties in 1 week. I mean, trying to work between PC and Mac, just because I had to be a lot of places. I was still trying to write stuff while I'm working, while I'm helping my son, doing all the things that I need to do. You know, it's holiday time. I got to be there for my family, too. It's just been a real busy, real rough week. I've got maybe like 3 hours sleep, so, you know. But I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Here it is, a very weird version of Benches and Bumps, Benches and Bumps, Benches and Bumps. Rankings edition. Before I get into that, I want to let you guys know, as a thank you for putting up with this shit, and as a sorry for not having the videos out on time and being less diligent about answering and things like that, tomorrow morning, Sunday, 11 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific, doing a new 1-hour live show. It's the Tinka Stinka Power Hour. That's right, last minute advice for you while you're sitting on the pot making those last second decisions. I'm here to help you with all the advice I can give you. That's your Tinka Stinka Power Hour, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern, tomorrow morning. And from here on out. That's right, new segment, new show, new video, 1 hour, Tinka Stinka Power Hour, every Sunday. Hopefully that makes up for this janky episode. Now, that being all said, the episode may be kind of off kilter, but the information is still legit. So you're going to get a lot of help. Probably more so than you normally get, really. Real quick, 3 things. Number 1, the graphics were made before it was announced that Jonnu Smith would be in. So I've got Firsker there at number 16. So take him out, and Jonnu Smith fits in there like right around like the number 7 or 8 area. Yeah, right around Dallas Goedert, which actually knocks Logan Thomas back out of the top 10, which makes his benching make more sense later on. Also, the graphics were done before it was found out that David Johnson was put on the COVID-19 list. So, you know, take him out, and then bump Duke Johnson up to about like 10 spots back from Johnson. Finally, for some reason I can't fucking understand, trust me, I had so many goddamn glitches, so much fucking shit that happened. At one point I had 10 hours worth of material. Fucking gone, erased. I had to fucking redo. It was crazy, so many reshoots, so many rewrites. Anyway, so at one point, somehow, Curtis Samuel got lost in the shuffle, I don't know. But he should be right in there about like number 40 area, just so you know. Enough of that shit, here we go with the benches and bumps. Alright, let's take a look at the quarterbacks first. And as you can see, my biggest bump is Ryan Tannehill. He's got the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's been playing his ass off lately. And the Jaguars have just been plain ass. Put those two together, and it sounds like a good day for Ryan Tannehill, don't it? I mean, I told you this guy was a stud, but people are still asking questions about him because he had like kind of one off week. This week, he's going to be on it. And he's going to be on your squad if you're smart. Bump him up to your starting lineup, or regret it. I've also got Justin Herbert on that list of bumps there. Now, I know he's a stud too, but a lot of people have been asking questions about him. Like, just because he's had an off game or two, he's going to fall off the face of this earth. This guy's been a stud, an absolute stud. And now he's going up against one of the worst defenses when it comes to defending quarterbacks in fantasy football. The Falcons are porous as fuck, and Herbert is going to pour it on. And a lot of people were giving up on Lamar Jackson, but I stuck by him. I knew he was going to come back. I knew he was going to return to his old form, and he sure as hell has. And he's got a not-so-great Cleveland Browns defense to face this week. Division rival, He's trying to prove himself. Lamar Jackson is definitely worth a start this week. And we got a few sleepers on there. You know, the tiny little thumbs up. Those are the sleepers. I figured that would be a good way to represent him. We got Phillip Rivers, who's been playing like he's in his prime. And he's taking on the Las Vegas Raiders, an old rival of his. He'll show them they can't get rid of him that easy. And Kirk Cousins has been on one recently, alright? I don't care what defense he's facing. He's worth a start. He's almost studly. I mean, you know, play the matchups with him, but still. Tampa Bay has not been as good on defense as they were earlier in the season. And Kirk Cousins can exploit that. So if you've got a quarterback with a bad matchup, give Kirk Cousins the bump. And Mitch Trubisky's pretty much a high-risk, high-reward play. He's got the Houston defense this week, who allows a lot of points to opposing quarterbacks. And even though he's not the greatest, he can still take advantage of that. Kind of a DFS sneaky play. You know, if you're feeling daring and you need to take some risks this week to stay in the playoffs, hey, Mitchell Trubisky might be the way to go. Couple of benches on here too. We got Taysom Hill. Hey, you know what? He's been playing great. I just don't like him in this matchup with Philadelphia. I think it's going to be kind of a, defensive sort of thing. You got Jalen Hurts just starting off in Philly. They're not going to be doing anything too spectacular. So I think it's going to be kind of a low-scoring game. Won't bode well for Taysom Hill's fantasy performance. So keep him on your bench. Hey, Matt Ryan's got a decent matchup. I don't give a fuck. He sucks. Good matchups, bad matchups. Matt Ryan has just not been showing up in the second half of this season. I mean, the team's played better, but that's actually hurt his fantasy production. Break out the Admiral, because this is definitely one of those trap plays. If you can afford a better option, why don't you put Matt Ryan on your bench? Rounding off the rest of the QBs, yeah, I know Cam Newton already played. I know it'd be kind of cheating to say, oh, you should bench this guy when I know he had a shitty game, but I had him as a bench on this list even before my computer went all fucky. Yeah, don't count it if you don't want to, but hey, it's there. And same with Jared Goff, I guess. I figured both of them would have shit games. Jared Goff didn't have that bad of a game, but, whatever. Anyway, let's move on to the running backs. As you can see, you got your usual suspects at the top there with Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook. Aaron Jones has a hell of a matchup with Detroit. He could be the running back of the week with that matchup. But my biggest bump this week is going to Jonathan Taylor. A lot of analysts are further down on him. I don't understand. I think he's going to have a nice game this weekend, so I bumped him up to number 7 there. A lot of other analysts have him outside the top 10. I don't get that. I think he's a top 10 running back against a shitty-ass Raiders run D. So give him a bump to your starting lineup. And as we know, Run CMC is out this week, so Mike Davis is going to get another shot. Man, what a dog shit year for CMC owners. We get blue-balled by this guy with teases of comebacks and then setback after setback after setback. But if you were a smart owner and you picked up Mike Davis either as a handcuff or off the waiver, then you're probably doing all right. I mean, he's no CMC, but he's definitely serviceable as a high-end RB2. The prancing ponies of Denver suck ass against the run, so I can see Davis getting a lot of touches in this game. Give him a bump this week. And everybody forgets about Chris Carson, and I don't get why. When he's in there and he's healthy, he's producing. He's been flying under the radar, but this week he's going to soar against the Jets. Give him the bump up to your starting lineup this week. Cam Akers had a great game, and I was calling that all week, but I didn't get this out in time, so that doesn't count. Sorry, guys. But I'll tell you what, as a Cam Akers owner, I'm fucking thrilled. I've been calling this guy a potential league winner for weeks now. Hopefully you listened and picked him up. Bump this guy up to your starting lineup rest of season. And J.D. McKissic could have a pretty good game this week. The Niners are known for having a great run D, but with the plethora of injuries the Niners have faced on defense, it's like watching a high school squad on defense out there sometimes. Plus, you gotta think that this is kind of a revenge game for Alex Smith against the team who drafted him, and Captain Checkdown might be throwing to McKissic all day. Add in the fact that Antonio Gibson's out, and that'll give McKissic even more carries. This could be a big game for him. Give him a big old bump. A lot of hype on Ty Johnson as a starting running back for the Jets this week. Hey, he's not going to be an RB1, but he could put up some RB2 numbers, sure. I mean, he is the lead back for an offense, maybe the shittiest offense out there right now, but pretty much any one body at running back is valuable in fantasy. And if you factor in that Seattle's defense has sucked donkey balls when it comes to stopping the run, yeah, that could mean a good game for Ty in this one. Bump him up. And my bench of the week this week at running back's gotta be Raheem Mostert. Yeah, he was tearing it up last year and even the beginning of this season. But ever since coming back from injury, he just hasn't been the same. Part of that's probably due to the fact that his quarterback's about as useful as an asshole on my elbow. But regardless of the reason, he just hasn't gotten a lot of work done. Game script has kept his touches limited, and the ones he is getting, he ain't doing much with. Not to mention all the mouths there are to feed in that backfield there in San Francisco. The guy just ain't startable right now, so leave Mostert on your bench. And we've all been watching Kareem Hunt's production go down the crapper ever since Chubb came back. And I don't see anything changing this week against a Baltimore Ravens D who gives up less than 15 points per game to running backs. And considering he's the number 2 in that backfield, nah, not this week. His better days are ahead of him. So leave Kareem Hunt on your bench. Last week, Miles Sanders played like shit in a good matchup. I called that. And this week, he's got a bad matchup, so I can see him playing like shit again. Doesn't take a genius to figure out what to do, so hop on the logic train with me and put this guy on your bench. Devontae Booker had his chance to shine last week in a gimme matchup, but he didn't do shit. And while the Colts D can be had at the run at times, I can't trust Carr to keep the Raiders close enough to ensure that Booker will get enough touches. I don't see them establishing much of a run game, really. Hey, we all thought this Booker experiment was going to work out, and it sure as fuck hasn't. So leave him on your bench. And you just can't start Todd Gurley anymore. His knees are giving out on him. His team's giving up on him. There's other running backs eating up his touches. This once generational talent has fizzled out. It's sad, but it's true. And we gotta face facts. So sadly for now, and maybe forever, leave Todd Gurley on your bench. Moving on to wide receiver. Again, you got the usual suspects: Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson. Damn, that's a long list of studs, throwing in Calvin Ridley. But then we get to Mike Evans here, and I've got him higher up than probably most other analysts, and that's been the case all season. I seem to be the only analyst who realizes that he's been putting up top 10 numbers this season. And this week he's got a weak-ass Minnesota defense, and while he may be a little bit banged up, he is the number 1 target for Tom Brady. And in a good matchup like this, there's no way I'm sitting him. Give him a big old bump to your starting lineup. And Allen Robinson's production is only as good as his quarterback. And Mitch Trubisky's actually been better than Nick Foles. And I think that production continues this week against the Houston Texans D, who's definitely not the defense we remember them to be. They've been Swiss cheese this year, and Allen Robinson is about to feast, so bump him up. Amari Cooper's had a shit year ever since Dak Prescott left. With all the jamokes throwing him the ball, it comes as no surprise. And while Andy Dalton's no prize, I have a feeling he's actually going to hook up with him this week. For a little while now, it seems Cooper and Dalton are starting to build a thing. And I think that thing takes form this week against the Bengals team who sucks at Tigers' titties at stopping wide receivers. So hang with Mr. Cooper this week. Bump him up. Corey Davis has been on one recently. It's like as soon as we count this guy out, he starts producing. And then when we expect him to produce, he drops off the fucking planet. Well, right now he's definitely on an upswing, so catch him while he is, and start him this week against the Pussycats of Jacksonville and their neutered defense. And you could be looking at high-end wide receiver 2, maybe low-end wide receiver 1 production. Bump him up. And T.Y. Hilton's finally back to his old form, so get him out there and take advantage. And I know it's hard to start anybody on the Bengals right now, but T. Higgins actually hasn't played that bad. He's been the only highlight of that offense. Brandon Allen's been looking for him, and he gets to dine on that fantasy fiesta of Dallas this week. So hey, I think he's worth a bump. We've got some benches to look at too, and the biggest one is probably Devontae Parker. Kansas City's been kicking ass when it comes to defending wide receivers, and while Tua has a good connection with Parker, it's not as good as Fitz. There's some injury questions there. I don't know. It just seems kind of like a bad situation right now in Miami. So I'm going to go ahead and keep Devontae Parker on the bench. With Will Fuller suspended, that means Brandon Cooks is going to be cooking it up rest of the season, right? Wrong. He had that concussion, and while he's been cleared, it's been fucking with his head somehow. Cooks has been merely a red herring. Kiki Cutie's been the one that's actually been getting all the production. He's been playing well as a wide receiver decoy, but that doesn't help us for fantasy points. So keep him on your bench. Deebo Samuel is going to be one hell of a talent in this league when he's got a good quarterback throwing to him. In the meantime, you got to play the matchups. And this matchup against the Washington team is no good. Keep him on your bench. Cole Beasley's been turning it on recently, but Pittsburgh, whoo, that is a defense you don't want to start anybody against. Diggs will get his, but I think Cole Beasley stays cold this week. Put him on your bench. Now getting to the end of the list here, I think Marquise Brown has a good game against Cleveland. Hey, he's due for a big one. Like a 50-yard touchdown, something like that. With the way Lamar's been playing recently, he's back on. Marquise is back on. I smell a big one this week. Bump Hollywood up. And hey, Seattle's D can support 2 good wide receiver performances, even against the Jets. So in a very deep league, I'd say Perriman's worth a look. Bump him up. And any day now, Allen Lazard is going to have that big game. Is it going to be this week? It could be. Against Detroit? Hey, if it's ever going to happen, this is the week it'll happen. So bump him up. Couple more benches here. Playing Nelson Aguilar is frustrating as fuck. It's like every time you think he's going to do well, he does shit. And every time you think he's going to do shit, he does well. Good and bad matchups, bad and good matchups. Not my favorite thing. He's too volatile to predict. I mean, he could have a good game, but against this Indianapolis Colts D, I don't bet on it. Put him on your bench. And yeah, I had Jacoby Myers as a bench this week. Would have been a good move. But anyway, let's move on to the tight ends. And my biggest bump up at tight end this week has to go to Hunter Henry. He's been playing really well this season, but he's had an off game or two. But this week he's got the Atlanta Falcons, and well, they haven't played that bad against tight ends. Double H has been a main target for Herbert, and in a game that's likely to be a shootout, hey, give me as many pieces of that game as you can. Everyone's been so down on Mark Andrews this season, but when he's been healthy, he's actually done pretty well. And this week he's got a Cleveland Browns squad who's been giving up over 15 fantasy points per week to tight ends over the past few weeks. This guy is a top 5 talent at tight end, but he's being treated like a tight end too. But you shouldn't treat him like one. Instead, give him a bump against the Cleveland Browns this week. Jordan Reed is Jordan Reed. We know he's going to be playing well when he's healthy, and right now, he's healthy. The 49ers love to use their tight ends, and while the Washington squad plays alright against tight ends, fuck, who the hell else is Mullins going to throw it to? He's got Debo, he's got Ayuk, but that's about it. And he loves throwing to his tight ends, so hey, let's give him a shot this week. Put Jordan Reed in there, especially if you don't have anyone else to go to. Got a couple of benches on this first page of the list, and my top one this week is Evan Ingram. He's so hit and miss, he's hard to fucking tell what he's going to do. He's got an Arizona defense who doesn't give up much to tight ends this year. They were shit against the tight end position last year, but they've been much better this year. I don't see Evan Ingram scoring in this game, so leave him on your bench. Logan Thomas has been fucking awesome this year, and I think he's going to have a good rest of the season. But this week, this game, against this Niners D who knows how to stop the tight end, this may be the 1 week rest of the season that you hold him back. So if you've got other options, go for it, and put Logan Thomas on your bench. Looking further down the list here, I like Cole Kmet. This guy's taking over the tight end position for the Bears. Jimmy Graham hasn't done shit other than put up a couple goose eggs. And recently, Cole Kmet has all but taken over at tight end. And since he reigns at tight end for the Bears, he may as well reign at tight end for your team too. Especially against the Texans D, who's about as effective against tight ends as Adam Gase is at coaching fucking football. If you need a spot start at tight end this week, you could do worse than Cole Kmet, so get him in there. Jacob Hollister could be one sneaky pick this year. Last year he came on for the Seahawks out of nowhere. He hasn't had that flare-up this year, but that could start this week because the Jets suck and this matchup is money. Yeah, that's practically a deep dive, and since I'm not doing the deep dives this week, there's one for you. As far as who else to bench, yeah, I rated Tyler Higbee as a bench for me this week, and it would have been right, but I guess you can't count that since it's already happened. And Trey Burton's been good this season, but the Raiders have been good against tight ends as well. I see Phillip Rivers going more toward his wide receivers this week, like Pittman and Hilton. So leave Trey Burton on your bench. One thing you can count on is Jared Cook not doing a damn fucking thing. I don't even want to talk about him. He's on my shit list, and I'll get more on my shit list next week. But anyway, just put him on your bench, cause fuck him. Now, I don't normally do benches and bumps for defenses, but this week, since we're not doing the deep dives or the defensive streams, hey, let's go ahead and do it this week. This week, my bump of the week at defense is the Seattle Seahawks, who over the past few weeks have become one of the top defenses in the league. The defensive coordinator, Ken Norton, lit a big fire under their ass, and that flame's been red hot ever since. They've been taking down teams left and right, and this week they've got the fucking Jets. Start those sea chickens this week. And in a battle of two of the most injured teams in the league, the Washington football team takes on the San Francisco 49ers. And with all the injuries between these two teams, the way they play defense, this is likely going to be one of those slog-it-out defensive struggles. A lot of defense, a lot of running, and not a lot of scoring. Honestly, both defenses will be viable this week. So pick your favorite and start them up this week. The Panthers have been playing well on defense as of late. And this week, they've got a Denver Broncos squad who has yet to figure out how the fuck they're going to play offense the rest of the season. So while they're trying to figure that out, why don't you take advantage and play the Panthers against them? And my defensive bench of the week happens to be the best defense in the league, the Pittsburgh Steelers. What, am I fucking crazy? Nah, the Steelers go into Buffalo this week. And Josh Allen's led the Bills to score against pretty much anybody. The Bills have been on one this season. They're playing like Super Bowl contenders, and they're not going to let anyone tell them otherwise. Any other week, Pittsburgh Steelers are set and forget. But this week, I just get the feeling it's not going to be a good one. And if you've seen what the Bills can do, you got that feeling too. So this week, if you have other options, maybe you put the Steelers D on your bench. And yeah, I would have told you to sit the Patriots too. Damn, I had a lot of good calls that don't count this week. But here's one call that will count. The Giants have been better on defense than people give them credit for. But I think this week, Kyler Murray wants to prove all the critics wrong. That he hasn't fallen off, that he's still just as good as he was earlier in the season. So for that reason alone, I'd leave the Giants defense on your bench. And hey folks, look at that. I'm actually going to talk about kickers this week, as well as every week on my ranking show. The reason I don't normally talk about kickers is because, well, the kicker position is kind of easy to figure out. Just look at the list of matchups, find the ones in green, and pick them up. But if that's not good enough, take a look at this list here. And while you're at it, take a look at my kicker bump of the week, Jason Myers for the Seahawks. Pretty much because the Seahawks are facing the Jets this week, but Myers has actually been really good this season. Quietly good. But let's be loud and proud with him this weekend and bump him up to your starting lineup. My bench of the week at kicker is Matt Prater. I mean, this guy's a stud. Well, at least he was a stud. He always was a stud. This year, though, not so much. He's missed 7 field goals so far, and that's the most he's missed since 2008, and the second most all time. And there's still 4 weeks left to go. Yeah, I actually looked up kicker stats for you. You impressed? Kicker on the decline, plus a bad matchup this week. That equals put Matt Prater on your bench. Well, there you go. I hope that was some kind of help. Sorry, it's not the same shit, but I'll make it up to you tomorrow morning. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. to 12 Eastern, the premiere of the Tinker Stinker Power Hour. I'll be answering all your last second questions so you can kill it this week 14. Whether you're trying to get into the playoffs, or it's the first round of your playoffs, or second round of your playoffs, whatever it is, I'm going to help you win this week. So while you're taking a dump, watch that video, make the changes you need to make, and win it this week. So I'll see you all tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. And real quick, if you can remember, subscribe, because we need 200 subscribers by Christmas, and I'll have a little something special for you. Give a like, share, whatever you could do to help out. I got that Patreon down there. If you want one-on-one advice, hey, those of you who are getting it for free right now, sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off starting next week, all right? But it's easy. It's just $5 a month, unlimited access to my brain, to my help, okay? I love you all. Good luck this week. See you tomorrow morning. If you're not there, I'll see you Monday. All right? For my early waiver wire picks for week 15. Until tomorrow morning, I'm out. Peace.